quorum?
We do have a quorum. I've been informed that Jason is going to arrive shortly, so we'll have a full board.
Okay, thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First item of business will be approval of agenda. It has been presented to you. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 6-0. Community comment, 3-minute limit per speaker, 15 per topic, and I believe Samuel's here.
Samuel is,
and Logan. All right, come on forward. Good timing.
Hello, everybody. Glad we made it in time with the weather.
Yeah, it's quite crazy out there.
Yeah, it started raining a little bit, and we don't like getting wet.
There was a small section of the road where my car almost turned into a submarine. So,
versatile instrument there.
Yeah. Be careful out there, guys.
And I don't know how soon this happened, but there was that light pole that fell down at the entrance, so just no one runs into that on the way out. But we're not here today to talk about light poles, unfortunately, as exciting as that would be. Logan and I are here to discuss a project that has been ongoing for several years, and that is sort of culminating this September. We've been producing documentaries for Faribault Television about the history of our town since we were freshmen in high school. And Logan, why don't you tell them about what's coming up this September?
Sure. Well, the idea started a while ago. Essentially, we're doing a play through Paradise Community Theater, telling some of our favorite, most compelling stories about Faribault's history and bringing in some of our favorite, most talented actors of the area. And then also bringing in a live youth orchestra as well, if you want to talk about that. Yeah, so our composer, Sam Dwyer, writes original music for the television series. And sometimes he'll have guest instrumentalists, but mostly it's him, his piano, his computer, and the several other instruments he plays adeptly. But for this show, he has assembled some of the musicians that he works with regularly to compose a completely original score for this show. Entirely classical music. It's a 6-person orchestra, and they are some of the finest youth players in the state of Minnesota. Yeah, Sam Dwyer is a student at Northfield High School. Yep, as is Logan Ledman. I was previously enrolled at Faribault Middle School, and Northfield Middle School before coming to the Faribault School District. And that is where I met Logan and Sam Dwyer. But I managed to get them involved in sharing Faribault's history in 9th grade. Yep, so this play brings some of our best stories. The basic idea of it is about bringing stories that will connect people with Faribault and with Faribault's history through how interesting and exciting and compelling the stories are. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we received a grant from the Southeastern Minnesota Arts Council to put this on. And where we have put that is in the promotional material. We're bringing in new pieces of equipment that have never been in the Paradise Center for the Arts before, a new surround sound system to really immerse people in the story. One piece of equipment recently acquired by the Paradise Community Theater under the grant is Scrim, piece of lighting equipment, and we're bringing in a professional lighting designer from the Twin Cities area, and she is phenomenal. It's really going to be a special experience and something that is, for me, essential in a community, and what Faribault as a town and sometimes as being a student there, sometimes as a school, can lack is that central identity. And I know there have been a lot of efforts recently to bring that about, and I think this certainly helps with that. When people ask who Faribault is, what Faribault is, what's that unifying factor, it is an unanswerable question, and there's no way to sum it all up, but history is unchanging. It will be here tomorrow just as it is much here today. So by looking to these historical figures, these prominent people in Faribault's history, we can find for ourselves that identity that we need.
and that we need for the problem solving that you as a board face, that we as a community are facing. And obviously this is something very important culturally and historically to share with our students and our educators, who not only teach the assigned curriculum and subjects, but every day people learn culture. And especially we have a large refugee population that every day is learning the American culture, the Faribault culture. And it is essential to make that just as much of a priority and just as much of a consideration as a school board. So we believe that this show can really assist in finding that cultural identity.
Also, educators and retired educators get a discount on the first weekend. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
there you go.
Yes.
I think that about sums it up.
That about sums it up in 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And when is it?
This opens September 21st. We have 4 performances: September 21st at 7:30, 23rd at 2 o'clock, and then the following weekend, the 28th at 7:30, and the 30th at 2 o'clock. So that's a Friday and a Sunday and a Friday and a Sunday.
And for the benefit of the thousands viewing this at home, please introduce yourself.
Of course. I'm Samuel Temple,
I'm Logan Ledman,
And Samuel, you are a
senior.
senior?
Yes.
as am I.
And you are a senior in Northfield.
That's correct.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you guys very much. Is there a question?
Well, I'd just like to say that I had the pleasure of having your dad, I believe it was in a history class long ago. And as an old history teacher, I'd like to express my gratitude for a generation that's recognizing the value of history. Thank you for all you do.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That means a lot. Yeah.
Okay.
All right, with that, thank you guys for having us.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night. Safe travels. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Any other community comment? Seeing none, we'll move on to recognition awards and presentations, and I see none on the
Nope.
agenda. Okay. The consent agenda, approved by one motion unless a board member requests separate action. Is there a motion to consider the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. There is no discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 7-0. No retirements at this point, and we move on to finance. And the first item is Resolution 1831, reauthorizing a previously authorized board-approved referendum authority. Is there a motion to consider this action item?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion?
Could Todd explain this to
Yeah.
the crowd?
Can we get the motion second real quick? That went pretty fast. Who did the Jason motion? And Yvette got the second.
Either way.
You better tell me.
Some version of that will be fine.
Okay. Sorry about that, Mr. Olson. Okay. This is the. Let me get my. There's a few years back there was a local operating referendum authorization for the board to do, and we took advantage of that, and we ended up passing. There's a formula difference between what we currently have as a referendum and the $400 at this time, and it was for 5 years. The 5 years is up now, so the difference now has closed because we did pass an operating levy back in 2013. So the board can only authorize $42 per student in the form of an operating levy. So that's what we're asking right now. $42 per student adds up to maybe between $160,000 to $200,000 of revenue for us, and it would just be basically status quo financially for our levy.
Right, to be clear, this is not new funds. This is just voting to approve to continue the.
That's correct. This is not new funds. That is correct.
Any further discussion?
So if we don't approve this, then basically the taxes would go down on the people
That's correct.
and that, okay. Is this a good thing or a bad thing? I'm trying to figure it out because, again, it's, with the contracts that we passed, we go beyond the budget, if we stayed within the budget, we could maybe save the taxpayers money with this? I mean, that's what I'm questioning on this.
I can speak a little bit to that. The origination of the $400 5 years ago, is it? Was authority given to boards to levy that amount without going to the voters. And the reason was the vast disparity between levy dollars received by some districts and the unfairness of the system in terms of basing property values on the amount of tax revenue that a district can receive. So the legislature and governor, in their wisdom, in my mind, allowed districts to levy this without going to voters. So it was clearly needed then, and now it's down to what amount?
$42.
$42. And so I would certainly be in favor of us authorizing this acceptance. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
Is this a resolution?
No, I guess it is.
Yes, thank you. It is.
It is on the front part and not on the side. Okay. Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll, or call for the vote?
Okay. 1831, right? Yeah,
Yep.
1831. Yvette.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Andrea.
Aye.
Myself, no. John.
Aye.
Jason.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, it passes 6-1.
Thank you. Item 7B, the OPEB Irrevocable Trust. Is there a motion to consider this item?
So moved.
I'll second. Discussion.
Maybe, again, Todd, could you explain to the people again?
Sure. Yep. The OPEB Irrevocable Trust, we've been talking about this for a while, to set aside dollars into some sort of trust that has a chance to gain more interest. I know that it's not a guarantee by any means, but it'd be a long-term investment for us. To give you an example, it's like investing into mutual funds, and rather than just a fixed number that we invest in that's gaining between 1.5 and 2% now, we could potentially end up with more interest over the years. And the account that we've chose that we can invest in can only be invested in an irrevocable trust. And so that's the reason why we're able to do it. Just a little bit, the chances of us earning a little bit more interest is much better into this fund, with just about as much risk.
Mr. Sesser, can I just clarify?
Go ahead.
We have the opportunity or the potential to have higher earnings, not just interest.
Thank you. Yep, you bet. I appreciate that.
And this is in a locked box, right?
It is, but the board does have, if you come to a point where you want to, let me explain OPEB first for the audience. OPEB trust is other post-retirement benefits, and each year the school district pays about $400,000 for staff that have retired with health insurance or severance packages or things like that. If the board chooses to use some of the trust or the interest from the trust to pay for those OPEB benefits anytime during the year, even with an irrevocable trust, they may do so. They can't just pull out money arbitrarily. There has to be a reason or a rationale for that. And the only rationale for this is to pay off or to defer payments for OPEB amounts.
So this does limit our potential to ever tap it for a budget deficit or a real rainy day if we needed it, right? Like in previous years, the board had taken a one-time money out distribution. I'm not sure that's the right word, but a withdrawal, and then paid it back after a levy passed, right? But would that limit this?
Correct.
From happening again?
That would limit that. And I don't know what the number is. It's between 400 and 500,000 we can only grab out of this, or it might be more than that. Depends on what our liability is. You want to just come up here so we can get the mic on you? Sorry, Jennifer, thanks.
So we do have the ability each year to pull out a combination of our actual payments out for our retirees, which is about $250,000, plus the amount of our implicit rate subsidy, which is the amount that the actuary determines our health insurance premium increases because we have retirees on our health insurance. So between those two, it's between $600,000 and $700,000 a year for the next few years. So we could take that amount out of the trust each year.
Our recommendation is to keep it in there as much as possible.
So even if the financial crisis wasn't related to employees, we could still take it out because we want to pay the employees with that.
Only these amounts. We
Right.
could not say, you know, we're in a budgetary crisis, we would like to take out in excess of that amount. You cannot do that.
Thank you.
Further discussion?
Okay.
Hearing none. Just an action. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 7-0. Gifts and donations. Excuse me. I printed a hard copy, which of course I lost.
Blew away in the store.
Okay, this would be a resolution item. I'm sorry I didn't have this ready to go here. The following donations have been received and are coming before the board for their approval. Knights of Columbus, $220 for special ed. Steel Waseca Cooperative, $1,500 for the Middle School Student Council. CoBank, Colorado, $1,500 for Middle School Student Council, included with the Steel Waseca effort. Mark Reavers, $142, a computer monitor for special ed. And the Faribault Booster Club, $44,450 for the scoreboards at the gymnasium, $5,500 for electrical work, $3,344 for iPads, cases, and use with the scoreboards, $902 for rental for equipment to install, and $1,022 for the scoreboard signage. Discussion, I just want to point out that I saw the scoreboards in use last Friday night, and they're outstanding. So, in fact, you can pull it up on your cell phone now and get a representation of what's on there. So, is there any further discussion, or did we have to move to accept these? Is there a motion to accept these?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Now, is there any discussion? Disregard what I said before, but I won't repeat it again.
Mr. Board Chair, just a big thank you to the boosters, and I know that Chad does a lot for that, but that whole team does a great job of getting funds, and this is another great use for that through the Jackson Estate.
Absolutely.
I would also just comment, it was amazing with the individual videos of the athletes, and it seemed like it was, advertising was ongoing and pretty constant already.
We're pretty happy. A couple small glitches, but those will be worked out hopefully tomorrow night.
I think the volleyball team should look happier when they're introduced.
They're trying to copy the U of M, and they're pretty serious apparently.
Yeah.
So.
Which team are you trying to copy there? So, anyway. But actually, Chad, I believe you're president of the Booster Club?
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for that effort. Any other discussion? Mr. Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yvette.
Aye.
Tom.
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Andrea.
Aye.
Myself, aye. John.
Aye.
Jason.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, it passes 7-0.
Thank you. Committee reports. We have a report tonight from Maria with technology.
Good evening. I wanted to give you some updates on technology. The tech department has been really busy this summer. And one of the things they did is they replaced new teacher workstations at all our elementary buildings. These are faster machines with solid state drives. They're Windows 10, the latest operating system. And they replaced about 200 computers in all 3 buildings. We also switched to a new service provider for our phones. We now have the feature that is called E911. And what that allows is if a 911 call is made from a classroom, now emergency personnel will see the name of the building, the caller ID, and also the room number. So now they can have a direct location of where the call came from. So that's a new feature in our buildings. Our largest project this summer were the new iPads. We replaced all our iPads to the new 6th generation iPads, and we did our staff, our students, one-to-one, and our classroom ones. And this year, the tech department set the iPads up ahead of time for the students. So we did our first distribution last week on the 21st. And they configured about 1,930 iPads this summer, and we have about 700 of them left to give out. So they did an awesome job. We had a makeup day today at the high school, and we have another one at our middle school and high school on Wednesday. And any that don't pick up those days, then we'll hand them out the first day of school. Also new this year is we set up an integration between Schoology, which is our learning management system, and Infinite Campus. So this will allow staff to do their grade books into Schoology, and it will transfer over to Infinite Campus. This will save the teachers a lot of time, and also because of that integration, we can email parents now their login credentials for Schoology. They won't need to sign up anymore or link their student accounts. It's automatically done for them. So in a couple of weeks, we'll be sending that information out to parents. So it's been a very busy summer. Any questions?
Maria, how long do you anticipate the new desktops to last for the elementary staff?
We're usually on a replacement plan of about 5 to 6 years.
And the new iPads, do we have those for another 3 years?
3-year lease, yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you. Community Education, Anne-Marie Leyland.
Good evening, board members. Something should have been handed out earlier. Thank you, Kathy, for doing that. It is a one-pager that has some orange on the top. And just wanted to bring attention to our efforts around the Faribault community schools, both at the middle school and at Jefferson. An organization called Ignite After School chose Faribault, so we were one of 3 programs that got highlighted in a statewide effort to inform people more about community schools and what they do in 21st century funding. So it was really fun to, one of 50 plus programs in the state, they chose Faribault to be one of those 3 that they featured. So that was really exciting. And to kind of kick that off, starting September 17th, we will open up registration again for, or actually start programming again for the community school sites. And just in efforts through a partnership with Faribault Youth Investment, Becky Ford is the coordinator of that program, and Healthy Community Initiative, which is our fiscal agent and partner in Northfield. So we've really joined forces with both Healthy Community Initiative and Faribault Youth Investment, really helping us organize all these different club activities for kids, and it's so exciting. So some of them, I just wanted to tell you, some of them for Jefferson are yogurt and yoga, so that's really fun. And the Riverbend Nature Center will be at the table partnering with us. And, sorry.
It's a joke from the work session I was thinking of.
Got it, okay, that's okay. Riverbend Nature Center, I thought maybe I had something in the teeth, or that's okay. They'll be doing Eco Explorers, and again, the Buckham Library has really stepped up. Delane James partnering with us again to do some ebooks at Jefferson, and at the middle school, they're actually going to be doing 3D printing with our students, so it's fantastic. At the middle school, we're going to be doing some bike works. Alina has donated about 20 bikes and helmets, and there's going to be a program called Bike Works Club, so students will get their hands in there really fixing bikes and then learning how to ride and bike safety and all of that. Josh Raymaker from Public Health, our county public health, will be running that program. Lego Robotics, someone at the, Lauren Fairley is a new EL teacher, EL interventionist at the middle school. Do I have that right? Oh, Nicole's not paying. Anyway, a new middle school interventionist for EL, And she's really excited about this Lego robotics, so I might have her come your way, Jason, to see if that would work. Coding for Everyone will be a club. Again, we're partnering with Carleton College, who will be sending lots of their students to help offer programs as well. And evening, so community school is all about after-school programming, but it's also the family time with evenings. And the programming, again, we're gonna offer Zumba, some of the standards that really were a hit last year. But dental clinic, so Health Finders is gonna step up and try to provide not just a daytime dental clinic, but also an evening dental clinic open up to the whole community, based out of Jefferson. The Sheriff Dunn, the police chief, Andy Bolin, and our fire chief, Dusty Dinst, thank you, will all be partnering with us too to offer some family success series type programming around safety and escaping a dangerous fire and all of those things. So really terrific partnership, exciting lineup. We had a lot of participation in terms of students last year. Over 500 students participated, but our goal is really to get those kids to continue in programming. So we've got to work on that this year. And I think with Becky Ford and the help that she's been providing, and we've got 2 wonderful community school coordinators will really help bring that to fruition.
Anne-Marie, what have you identified as the biggest barriers to getting more kids or more families involved? Have you identified 1 or 2?
It's not getting them to the event or to the activity, it's having them stay. And I believe it's mainly, maybe it wasn't the right, maybe they signed up for something and it wasn't really the activity they thought it was gonna be. And that's one thing that we're really focusing on this year is quality programming. And we're engaging with our own staff at Faribault Public Schools to offer some of those clubs, and then these really fun and exciting community partners that are willing to step into that arena. You know, we offer dinner, we offer transportation, we offer a lot of that. There's also some competing things like having to get home and take care of their siblings. That's oftentimes something I hear from middle school and high school students, kind of 5th grade and up. There's a lot of that needing to take care of the family, but we want that family there. So we've extended dinner. We're offering dinner from 4:30 to 6:30 at the middle school, hoping that we can bring in more families, and that will meet some of our families that work a little later, some time to come in and have dinner with us. So yeah, we're still exploring kind of what those barriers are.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Great.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for letting me talk about that.
Thanks for your collaboration. Yeah. Sounds great.
Yeah, it is great. They're great people.
Item 8H is first readings for the policy committee, and there are 8 different policies covering equal education opportunity, open meetings and closed meetings, public participation, equal employment, harassment and violence, tobacco-free environment, gifts to employees and board members, and public data requests. Policy committee met a week before last, reviewed these. The only one that was new, I believe, is some public data requests, and it kind of defined the ability for us to provide information to the public. The rest of them all could be summarized in changing the word citizen to people or person, defining some of the various e-cigarette combinations, making sure they're covered, and making sure that gender is included in any item that involves harassment. In other words, cannot harass based on gender. So this is the first reading, and it's for your perusal, and they will be brought back to the board at our next regular meeting. Other matters. Consider approval of cooperative agreement for girls cross country. Is there a motion to consider this item?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Can I just ask, this is between Faribault High School, VA, MSAD, and a family?
It's a family. They are 3 homeschooled Northfield residents.
Okay.
Who have elected to participate and want to participate on our team, and so we're suggesting that they be approved. And they formally have to clear this with the high school league, and then those 3 athletes will be joining our team.
So we're just bringing those 3 athletes in right
Yes,
now?
the others are in place already.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional discussion? All those in favor signify by, oh, did we move and second this one? Yeah, okay, sorry. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 6-0. Item 9B, approval of the student handbooks for Faribault Middle School, Faribault High School, and the Faribault Area Learning Center. This is an agenda, an action item. Is there a motion to excuse me, motion to consider these 3 buildings handbooks?
So moved?
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded. Discussion. A lot of work has gone into these, and hearing no further discussion, is there a all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Handbooks passed 7-0. Item 9C, consider approval of Faribault Public Schools Positive School Expectations Policy. Is there a motion to consider this item?
So moved.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, the only thing I'd ask, and I know we talked about this probably a month ago, was how is this communicated to the students and the parents? And has that already been done? If not, when will it be done? You know, I know we had that discussion. I don't think there was a clear-cut plan at that time on how it was going to be done.
Right, so the elementary schools are going to start presenting that at those first 2 days. The middle school and the high school have their staff back now, so they're actually meeting on tomorrow. We'll do the introduction of the policy at the large group, and then the high school, and actually all the schools, will take it back to their staff to talk about it, take a look at it, see if there's any need for change, see how people feel about it. We're going to do a thought exchange to get 100% input from staff, as much as we can anyways. In the PAC, that thought exchange we'll ask the question about the policy and get some feedback from the staff to see how they like it. And then once the staff is comfortable with it, we'll create a strategy to get that out to parents, and then do the same thing and strategically move it out to the parents. But right now, our first step is to make sure that our staff is in support of it.
And you did change the name of it?
We did.
A bit, okay.
We did, yes, we did. Yeah, the theme for this is Every Falcon, Every Day, hashtag raising the bar. And that's kind of the theme that we're putting around this whole thing, is that everybody has to be a participant, and we really need everybody to believe in this.
Further discussion?
On the positive school expectations. I have to apologize, my hearing is worse than usual tonight. First of all, I'd like to say that I appreciate the effort and the thought behind this. I think the consistency across the district will be a very plus, so there's not as much adjustment needing to be done as a student moves from elementary to middle school or middle school to high school. I am in favor of the descriptions that I've read both on the memo and in the longer document. There is, the older I get, the less I want to have any regrets. So I'm going to say one thing, or I feel like I would regret it. My only criticism of this occurs in the memo, in the middle school section. I've been retired from the public schools for 10 years now, and during that 10 years I've often spoken against the emphasis on standardized testing. I read in the second paragraph of the middle school section, math MCA proficiency and reading MCA proficiency are the centerpieces for our 2 academic goals. To me, that's a disappointment. I think we are better than test prep, than our students deserve more than test prep. And I recognize that there is a desire to measure achievement. I just think that the MCA and any other standardized test is a poor way to do that. So thank you for indulging me in avoiding a regret.
Thank you, Tom. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 7-0. Items of information, school board members. I'll just point out one thing. We attended the grand opening of the Virtues Trail, and that was the prime mover behind that was, I believe, Wanda Holmgren, who is a teacher at Roosevelt. Yeah. And it was really, it's very nice, outstanding, and that was a good evening, and great weather, and it was nice to see a good project for one of our staff members to be involved in. Superintendent Sesker. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, God, moving faster than an old man can keep up.
I'm trying to beat your own record.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I would like to distribute a copy of the definition to the other board members. I regret not having been at the last work session where I had intended to bring this up. And so what I'm proposing is that we perhaps put it on the agenda for the next work session. It is my strong belief that our vision of what we want our students to experience, to be able to do, to the habits of mind and habits of behavior that we want them to acquire in their time in the Faribault Public Schools is a vital thing to effectively choosing policy. I don't know, in my search of our documents, I haven't found a district definition of literacy, and I think a discussion might be positive. I'm going to, for the sake of the audience, read my definition, which has undergone a change since this afternoon. I had a friend comment on that I left out something very important. So I will include the change as I read. My definition of literacy: the ability, desire, opportunity, and practice of pursuing entertainment, knowledge, understanding, and wisdom through the practice of independent reading. And I'd like to close here by citing our community ed bulletin, where the Faribault Library has increased circulation of tumble books, which are e-books, from 50 to 700 per month. Now that's literacy in action. I think as a district, we would be more successful if we could do an even better job of promoting that across the system, K-12, pre-K-12. So, thank you.
Okay. Any other board reports? Okay, now Superintendent Sesker.
Okay, over the last month or so, I've had coffee with the superintendent. Had a few people join me for that event. That was on way back in July 24th. I've attended a chamber meeting to talk a little bit about facilities and what they believe the needs of this community are, to have a good conversation with them. Toured the high school with Al Fleckenstein. I believe John Curry and Dick Berge were with me, and we talked a little bit about just to talk about what he feels are areas that he may want to invest some money in, and it was a good conversation with him.
Mr. Sesker,
he's very interesting too.
What is his role, or who's this individual, or is it a gift of sorts, or what?
Nothing yet, nothing at this point. And it's just a person that said that he may be talking with FAPSITA to look at a scholarship potentially, and we invited him in here to talk a little bit about what the possible future program committee that's through FAPSITA, and then possibly getting some donations from him too. So he was just a friendly guy. He and his wife were there, and they just wanted to come back to the high school and visit.
Yeah. I'll just add, he was in town for the anniversary of his class, 55th anniversary, graduating class of 63. He is of the Fleckenstein Brewery family, and then he contacted me. I was president at the time of FAPSETA, wanted to talk about things. Said he was coming back, and they came back. They had a weekend where they toured the old Fleckenstein, and he was presenting. So he met with Todd and I and Dick Berge, an interesting fellow. And as we walked down the halls, he stopped at one. He says, "There's my locker."
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't remember the combination.
Couldn't get the combination, yeah. No, it was fun. It was fun walking around him and his wife. Teacher Appreciation Day was August 21st, just a small one that people notified that we ended up celebrating a little bit. Virtues on the Trail, as John said, was August 22nd, and I think Nicole and Ryan were out there, right? Virtues, good. And then Chad and I did a Jenny O turkey tour, and just to get an idea of what that plant looks like, and just making connections in the community all over. So it was all good. That's it.
Okay, thank you. I'll just point out we are a school board, and we should mention that school starts on September 4th.
Well, that's true.
And that's the first day of school for middle, high school, and the area learning center. Reminder to folks that the elementary school, they do not have regular classes the first 2 days. Instead, they're invited in for personal conferences, and we hope that they have received their schedule for that and participate. So elementary people, do not bring or send your elementary students to school
till Thursday
on the 4th or the 5th. Our next board meeting is a work session on the 10th, and our next regular meeting is on the 24th. And after the adjournment of this meeting, the board will meet in closed session for the purpose of discussing negotiations. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carried 7-0. I think it stopped raining, so we can